Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between the Tomb Kings led by the new and unimproved Ark in the Black and the Warriors of Chaos who are going to be led by the KFC Lord. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So in the front line, I do have two groups of Skeleton Warriors with a couple of chevrons on each of them, simply because I had a little bit of extra money. I think I had like 200 or 300. Then in the middle, I do have the Kepler Guard, which are one of those units that are very much like the Stearnsman. They're pretty much good in most matchups simply because they have very well-rounded stats. 43 melee attack with magic damage can be good in a multitude of different matchups, with physical resist like the Skaven, for example. Top of that, 41 melee defense, definitely not bad. 47 weapon strength is very hard hitting against lightly armored troops, but you're not really going to be facing that against Chaos, but I still think they're worth bringing just because they anchor that front line very well and honestly take forever to kill. And on top of that, they do, of course, regenerate, which is why they're so good. We have the new and unimproved Ark in the Black, as we call him here, and he's still extremely competitive in my opinion. If you see Ark in the Black, he does have the Tomb Blade, which now just summons skeletons, but it does summon, I think, 150, whereas regular skeleton warriors have 120. So you get a nice little boost of troops there. And of course, it has 5 charges, and it only recharges, I think, when he's in combat. But you can really mitigate the recharge, the slow recharge rate with the Staff of Nagash, which when you use, it improves your power recharge rate, and it also takes away 30 seconds from your cooldowns. We have the Liber Mortis, the Purple Son of Xeris, or Xarius, which I think should be pretty good against Warriors of Chaos who have like a lot of heavily armored infantry. And, obviously it's just really good at pounding up blobs of infantry units, which Chaos tends to do. Spirit Leech and Aspect of the Dread Knight to get a little terror action going, because Chosen, for some reason, are not immune to psychology. So it looks like the Soul of Damnation is going to be blasting Ark in the Black. So I was like, when the battle first started, I was like, what happened? Like, what shot him from Chaos from that far away? But the heat-seeking Soul of Damnation definitely did some heavy lifting. We have a Tomb Scorpion against standard Great Weapons, Chosen against, it's even okay against Halberds, especially if you're stacking it on top of your Skeletons. We have the Sphinx of Usef here, who's going to be taking on Shaggoths and big threats, and doesn't look like my opponent brought too many. Granted, Warp Chicken is a pretty large target, so he can't really run freely amongst my ranks without being pressured by the Sphinx now, which is good. But guys, the moment you've all been waiting for, the Great Bone Giant is back again. So this thing I feel like has a pretty good niche in the Chaos matchup. If they bring like a Hell Cannon, you can actually snipe it very effectively with this guy. He has anti-large, he has good AP, so if you're facing off against Shaggoths, Dragon Ogres, the Summoners of Rage, all are very, very good targets for this guy. So I think he definitely has a home here in this matchup. In the back here, we do have the King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion to protect these guys, and this is just another very good unit. Anti-large, it has poison, it also, I think, does have regeneration. Does it? I'm not sure if it does. No, it doesn't look like it does. I think it's just like, it's a very dense unit. It's hard to get through. 120 models with pretty good stats, 41 melee defense. It's just, it's very a very grindy unit. We got 2 groups of Skeleton Warriors on the flanks, and that's pretty much it. So for my opponent, oh no, how could I forget? We have 2 groups of Skeleton Chariots who are going to be going in. But man, every time I bring these guys, they just die so quick. So hopefully they can do better in this matchup here. But for my opponent, he's got Halberds on the flanks of his army. It looks like a couple Chaos Warriors with Great Opens. He's got Forsaken. Of course, the Soul of Damnation, the Warp Chicken with Final Transmutation. Summoners of Rage in the back, which are probably one of the best anti-cav units in the game. They are extremely difficult to kill with 53 melee defense, high HP pool. They hit hard, anti-large. Chain Lightning's good against Skeletons. Just a very spooky, scary unit for sure. And I think my opponent has some Hounds and Marauder Horsemen on the far side. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. So in the beginning, my Chariots are going to come in pretty hot and heavy, going to be going into these Forsaken. Definitely a very good target for them with the anti-infantry bonus. And you can see the Forsaken taking a bit of shock damage, and they are a very squishy unit with a relatively low HP pool compared to Chaos Warriors. I think these guys have like 6,700 HP, and Forsaken have like a little over 5,000. But to get in there, I also charge into the Great Opens on the far side, and the Carrion will be just charging straight for the Soul of Damnation, which my opponent will obviously defend, and you can see that. Look at that, the Bone Giant over there doing some heavy damage to the Soul of Damnation, and the Chariots, of course, are going to be pulling back at this point, not wanting to mess around too much longer, but still did some really good damage for me. I was quite happy about that. So now that he has pulled forward, the Carrion are going to be swarming on the Soul of Damnation, and you can see the Bone Giant continuing to just hammer away. But again, the Soul of Damnation doing some really, really good damage to my Kepler Guard. But he is going to use his Summoners of Rage, and the Carrion are considered infantry size. So the anti-large isn't going to help, but it's still doing damage and kind of distracting a very powerful unit. In the main fight here, you can see my Chariots have collided with these Forsaken, and it looks like there's going to be a bombardment ability from the Warp Chicken going down right here. And I thought he just had, yeah, it looks like he does have a Searing Doom as well. But on top of that, Ark in the Black is going to summon his Skeleton Warriors, which is going to give you a lot more saturation here, and hopefully will help fend off this very heavy Chaos Assault right here. In the meantime, Chariot's continuing to just charge into the front of his Forsaken and his other troops over here. And it looks like Warp Chicken is going to be using an overcasted Final Transmutation. Maybe, is it overcasted? Hard to tell. But it looks like it did actually miss Ark in the Black and just went on those Chariots. And that's what it was. In this game, I was like, why are my Chariots dying so fast? They're in good position, but he overcasted a Final Transmutation. And that basically just dumpstered all my Chariots, which was, that's pretty insane value. I mean, those things are like 750 800 apiece. So that's some really good stuff right there. But anyways, the Necrosphinx is going to be chasing down the Warp Chicken. The Bone Giant continuing to snipe in here. It looks like it makes pretty good contact here with the, well, actually, that didn't do much damage at all, but maybe a bit of a miss. But it's still going after the Summoners of Rage as well as the Soul of Damnation. And this is such a good distraction Carnifex here. The Carrion are just like sitting here. The Summoners of Rage have been beating on them for a minute. The Soul of Damnation isn't going to be that effective in this bunch fight anyways, but in the meantime, the Bone Giant is being inundated a little bit. It's being attacked. You can see these Marauder Horsemen are coming in and attacking. The King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion are able to fend them off pretty effectively, but it looks like they're just going to get terrified. And basically, I was kind of saving up for a couple of the Purple Suns, because there are some big blobs of chaos. I think I actually did get a Purple Sun, and we may have missed it, but if memory serves, there will be another one in this game. Balance bar is pretty even. The battle's going pretty well, I would say. The frontline battle, surprisingly, we're able to actually break off these Chaos Warriors with the help of the Tomb Scorpion and, of course, Arc in the Black, using that Staff of Nagash to get the ability cooldowns coming back here. But over here, there's a lot of Chaos Infantry. You can see 70 Chaos Warriors. There's some Halberds right here. But now it's time for a big, juicy Purple Sun. Going to be going right into the middle of this Chaos Blob here and doing a bunch of damage, just tearing through those forces. You can see this is just going to be absolutely devastating. Honestly, I just have some skeletons here, so I don't really care if they get caught up in it, but it does actually break those Chaos Warriors right there, who then become terrified by the Sphinx of Usef. I summoned some of my Shopti, and things are starting to look a little bit up. Unfortunately, I left the Soul of Damnation. I assumed it was pretty much offline when I looked at it, but you can see that Legolas over here, the Bone Legolas, is still going to be shooting at the Summoners of Rage, who are now in a bit of a kaiju fight. So Summoners of Rage are going to be fighting against the Necrosphinx and the Tomb Scorpion, and Arc in the Black, of course, is here as well. It looks like, I think I actually ended up using a Spirit Leech on them just to get a little bit more damage, but, the Sphinx of Usef is an absolute monster as well. So if anything can take the Summoners of Rage on, it's going to be this guy for sure. And of course, I do have some other supporting units. But in the meantime, I'm continuing to get the Bone Giant just guarded in the back with the King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion. And he's just sitting here, basically just taking pot shots at the Summoners of Rage with his anti-large bow, and really doing quite a bit of work. I also tried to get Arc in the Black to assassinate the Warp Chicken right here, but I was in the wrong neighborhood a little bit, so I had to pull back because some Halberds were coming. You can see the Big Daddy Sphinx is coming in. He's coming for that bread. And he gets in there, gets a nice rear attack on Sartorial, gets a nice little anti-large beat stick in there. Some of these Chaos Warriors are still fighting, but for the most part, my infantry are all but gone. I have a couple monsters left. I guess there's some Skeleton Warriors. In the back, I have some as well. And it looks like the final arrow is going to be delivering the death thrust to some of these guys. So let's see if it... Oh, that just weaved the middle there, which was so unfortunate, but... Definitely has been pretty useful this game, sniping out the Soul of Damnation as well as pressuring some of these large units here. Summoners of Rage continuing to rally here, charging back in with the support of Sartorial, the ever KFC Lord. Another bow shot is going to be a huge miss, and I remember him being more accurate than that, but again, he's trying his bony heart out over there. But you can see some Chaos Warriors coming back. Looks like 48 Chaos Warriors. We got some Chaos Warriors with great weapons as well. They're going to be rallying, but it looks like these Summoners of Rage are kind of getting taken to Pound Town a little bit. The Sphinx is just cleaving these guys asunder, and now the Bone Giant, at this point, I think I realized this whole Damnation was still firing, so I'm like, God damn it, I didn't take that thing out. So you can see the Bone Giant's coming in, and I think this was the shot of all shots, and here it comes, the moment of judgment for these Chaos Dawi, and it looks like it goes straight through, and I really wish I had, like that's so, haggard looking, how it just, collapses like that. But the Chaos Dwarves, realizing their artillery pieces offline, are probably going to be charging into battle here to help out the Warp Chicken. And you can see Summoners of Rage are pretty much broken off. The Marauder Horsemen are kind of scattering to the wind. And in the front line, some of these Skeleton Warriors are providing a really good buffer as the Tomb Scorpions just go full-on Transformers here. And the Sphinx of Usef is going to be going after the Warp Chicken, which actually seems to be pretty good. I mean, Warp Chicken usually runs around, he's just getting turned into a drumstick right here by the Sphinx, but normally the Warp Chicken can just run around with impunity, just kind of cackling and doing whatever he pleases. But when you have the Sphinx, he has to be really careful because he's not the best melee combatant. I mean, 40 melee defense is decent, but this guy's 58 melee attack hits like an absolute truck, and you can see he's just straight up drumstick, and this guy is the Bone Giant is going to be shooting as well. Granted, the Bone Giant isn't going to do much against Sartorial because of his huge magic resist, but we can go ahead and fast forward here as the Warp Chicken just gets taken to Pound Town. So well played by my opponent. It was definitely a very fun use of the Bone Giant. Man, I was so excited to play this game and cast it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna show people the chariots and how awesome they are. And yes, they had a really good initial charge, but man, that final transmutation from the KFC Lord just put them in an absolute trash can, which I was definitely pretty sad about because I was really hyped to show them off. But it is what it is. I'll keep trying to get some. I'll try. You know what I'll try and do for you guys? I'll try and do a very dedicated chariot build where it's gonna have 4 or 5 chariots just going absolutely hog wild, and we'll see if we can make that happen in a more ideal matchup, because Chaos is a little bit risky because they do have good anti-chariot stuff. But the infantry held. The Bone Giant did a really good job sniping the Hell Cannon, even though I was really delayed on that, but still applied the pressure on the Summoners of Rage, and had there been a Kolak Sun Eater, I could have just sat the Bone Giant on him the whole game and probably, chunked quite a bit of his HP, considering I think it's like 500 weapon strength plus bonus versus large on that. The one group of Carrion were surprisingly like huge MVPs. They were able to shut down the Hell Cannon. And honestly, like had those Summoners of Rage been in the frontline fight, just, beating on my, Tomb Scorpion and fighting my Sphinx earlier in the battle, I think that would have opened up a lot of avenues for the Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes to apply more pressure without just being chased off. And they were just in the backline for far too long fighting the Carrion. But that's the whole reason why you bring Carrion. They're surprisingly tanky with melee defense in the 40s, and they basically just distract your opponents, which is pretty solid stuff. So I like the army, and honestly, I think Ark in the Black is still super competitive. I really like how they changed its mechanics, and it's really fun playing without Fate Abuna as well, using the Purple Sun and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Skeleton Summon's pretty good. The Staff of Nagash is strong, and of course, his Libra of Warness is as good as ever. And for my opponent's army, let's see. I think, he had answers for most things. Like these guys against Constructs, Summoners of Rage against Constructs. Like it wasn't a bad army at all, but I think there was some positioning stuff with the Summoners and some other stuff like that unfortunately cost him the game. But regardless, definitely played well. The Warp Chicken was a tyrant to chase down. The final transmutation was masterfully cast. It basically just netted like 1,500, 2,000 gold all by itself. So that was some good stuff. So very well played to my opponent, Reskar. Look forward to running into again on ladder. And hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing, not the followers from Nagash, but Ark in the Black in action. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.